Today's topic is on Reiki and sex, and there's been a lot of underlying conversations being had in the Reiki community around inappropriate touch that's been going on, particularly in Arizona. And part of what is coming up for me is like, yes, we need to completely recognize and understand and honor these assault victims that it's happening, and this is just completely unethical, completely wrong in all the ways. And where's the other pendulum swing of when is Reiki and sex appropriate? We need to have this conversation about Reiki as part of your self-pleasure practice, Reiki as part of your sensuality and your sexuality. When is it okay? When is it not okay? And so we're going to dive into all of the things. And I am really passionate about this topic because I find that they're not exclusive to one another, right? Like, I feel like this is one of those topics. Like, I'm a huge mixed modality advocate. Like, I love mixing modalities. I mix shamanic Reiki, I mix Reiki and coaching. I'm a mixer, right? And I love honoring people who are mixing, but you need to also understand those ethical boundaries and what is appropriate and what's not appropriate. Okay. So a lot of this has been coming forward because there's a situation going on right now in Arizona of a man who is under the spiritual guise of as a healer, and he is pulling women into his world and misguiding them and ultimately sexually assaulting them. And so I'm going to start off today's conversation by actually reading an advocate's post, because I think it's that important. I think this is something that really needs to be understood and at the forefront. And I can't state it better than Jenny Mitchell. And so she posted this morning, well, yesterday: "Sisters, it's time. I have stood at the gates of justice, sword and shield in hand, reporting this harm to the city of Peoria and the Arizona Attorney General, the Arizona Massage Therapy Board, the church, the legal and sex abuse advocates. I have done this everything I can to stand in front of this, to take the brunt of it, because what he is doing is wrong. It's illegal, and it's happening right in the places we've trusted to be safe. But here's the truth. The final blow to end this abuse lies in your voice, your story, your truth." Caveat, that is why I'm sharing this. Like, I think we need to be, our awareness needs to be on alert of people who are utilizing their spiritual stature as a way to have sexual misconduct. Because, okay, before I get into the rant, let me continue. "He uses spiritual language, healing talk, energy work, sacred touch, but it's all a mask. Here's what he says: 'You are not ready for the deep work,' he says, if you hesitate. So you'll feel like you're failing him if you say no. 'If you really want to heal, you'll let me go deeper,' he says, to coerce you, twisting your spiritual hunger to break your boundaries. 'You don't really want this,' he says, to gaslight you, flipping your discomfort or fear into your fault. He tells you to remove your bra or your underwear, even if your top is on, because the energy needs to flow. He asks you to sit on his lap or let him hold you in his energy, using your search for comfort against you. He says flesh to flesh contact is necessary for healing, but it's not. He rubs his bare chest against you or presses his body into yours, saying your energies are merging. He says it might feel erotic, but it's spiritual grooming you to doubt your own boundaries, grooming to doubt your own boundaries. He asks you to touch him, especially his pelvic region, saying it will help him release energy. He talks about your sexual energy or your feminine power. It's manipulation, not medicine. He talks about his own sexual energy or blockages. That's his stuff, not yours. He frames everything in spiritual talk, so you'll question your fear and silence your no. And even if it was just a rub on your belly or a touch on your thigh, if you don't fully, knowingly, and freely consent, it's assault. Let's be clear about Reiki too. Reiki is gentle. It's about still hands or hands hovering above your body, palms open, no pressure, no rubbing. It does not involve massaging or rubbing your body, removing any undergarments, touching your breasts or between them, inner thighs or pelvis, direct skin to skin contact, or any sexual or erotic talk. If he did any of this in a Reiki session or class, sisters, hear me. It is not Reiki. It is not healing. It is abuse, and it is illegal. Consent must be freely given, not manipulated, not pressured, not threatened. It must be informed and ongoing. You knew what was happening and kept agreeing to it. It must not be coerced by spiritual talk or his authority as a healer. Even if you said yes because you felt trapped or frozen, or because you didn't know how to say no, if you blindly trusted him due to his authority, it's not consent. Even if it was free or paid, it's still illegal. And then she goes on to quote the Arizona state laws of where all of this section is actually is considered sexual abuse. Okay. So she's advocating to share this story. I've posted it in our group, and I do believe that we need to share it because this is not okay and not our Reiki community or anywhere else. And I want that message to be heard and shared. And I also want to also say that it's not okay in these power dynamics. If you ever have someone who is in a spiritual authoritative position and they're coercing you into anything, that's not okay. But if you are married and have a consensual sexual arrangement with a monogamous partner, right? Or even if you had consensual polyamory agreements, whatever it may be, but like if you are equals and you are practicing on each other and you are inviting in sexual energy to be added with Reiki, I don't see anything wrong with that. Right. But this is where there is no power dynamic. And so we need to go back even further of where do we understand our yeses and nos? Where do we understand what our boundaries are? How do we have this interpersonal development and spiritual development and sexual development to know where that okay is? And that really comes to how do we develop our internal inner masculine and feminine energies? Right? We need that strong inner masculine energy to say, this is my boundary. This is what I'm not comfortable for. This is what I'm not available for. This is what I am available for. And when you have that inner knowingness, that inner truth of like, this is what my container is and what I'm available for and not available for, then that feminine energy can flow within that safe container. But if we are having spiritual authority figures manipulate us, gaslight us, that is like, this should never be part of a session. I absolutely agree that if you are in a professional session, Reiki should be just light touch or hovering above the body always, right? There is no tissue manipulation. Okay. So yes, I know I'm going on a bit of a rant here. So keep this in mind. Like if you are a Reiki professional and not a massage therapist, that's different. Like if you are mixing modalities and you are a professional massage therapist and you are a Reiki professional as well, and you're giving, asking for consent to your clients to have a Reiki massage, that's one thing. And you're going to be following your massage board for the rules that pertain to massage. I'm not talking about that. Like if you are a Reiki professional, if you're a shamanic Reiki professional, if you are a Reiki coach, there's still like you are then in a position of authority to any of your clients, and any kind of sexual touch is inappropriate. Okay. So if you are a teacher, if you are a practitioner and you are touching on any of those places and spaces I just read, that's not okay. That's not okay. It's not okay. And we need to be learning this in our Reiki level 2s, right? We need to be learning trauma informed care. We need to be learning informed consent. Like I am a huge advocate of understanding what people's experiences are so we can try to do it the best possible to create safe and sacred containers. Absolutely. And so when those lines are crossed anywhere in our industry, it hurts all of us, especially the true men healers that are abiding by these ethical codes, standards, and procedures, who are doing everything in their power to be okay. And so one man in this industry who is really fucking it up for the rest of the men who are doing it right. And so uh, this is about one man who is fucking it up for the rest of us, right? And that is why I'm so coming on with this strong message of watch yourself, right? Like question who are you learning from? What are they trying to teach you? How are they trying to teach it? And at any point, if you are feeling yuck, if you are feeling contracted, if you are feeling that you are coerced, if you are feeling unsure about anything, if you're not an enthusiastic yes for any kind of sexual activity, then it should be a huge red flag warning sign, and it should be a no. And this has come from not only what I'm reading right now that's going on, but I have been date raped. I have been sexually groomed. I have been in situations that have made me feel small, that have made me feel tiny, like spiritually condensed to almost nothing, right? And so if you don't feel absolutely expansive and having this full body yes, like we shouldn't go there. We shouldn't go there, right? And I don't mean to shit on anyone, but these are really clear ethical lines. And this is something that I teach in both my level 2 and my Reiki master's class, that we need to have some level of understanding of trauma informed care as well as informed consent. And so when we are in this space, Reiki sessions really should be very clear. And so this is what I tell every single Reiki client that I have. And I do it in a way so that they know what I'm going to touch and what I'm not going to touch, right? So I will tell them this is a light touch practice, but if you don't feel my hands, I'm hovering above your body. I won't be touching your chest area, your pelvic region, or your throat, because those can be sensitive areas. And I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable, triggered, or anything else. I want you to feel as safe and calm as possible. So those areas I'm going to avoid, but I'm going to be working above your body. And you can be, I encourage you to be strongly, like fully dressed. Like I'm not asking anyone to take off their clothing. When I've had clients come in and they start undressing, I immediately stop them. I'm like, this is a fully clothed practice. I do not want to have you take off your clothes. I would say my most uncomfortable sessions were when I was working at a spa and they would go from one session to the next. Like they would come in for a Reiki session and go get a massage afterwards. So they would come in nude with a robe on and get under the table. They've got a sheet and blanket up, but I'm like, I don't want to be working on naked people. I don't. I'm not comfortable with it. Please tell these people that they need to wear clothing, right? Because I'm not a massage therapist, I'm not trained in touch, like how to touch a naked body in an appropriate way, because that's not what I am. That's not my professional conduct, right? Like I'm a Reiki master, I'm a Reiki teacher, right? Like, so I've never gone to massage school, nor do I think we need to, but we need to have our sessions being really clear on what we are doing and how we are doing it well and ahead of time. Even when I teach Reiki, whether it's a Reiki level 1 class or Reiki master's class, I tell every single student how I'm going to touch them when I'm doing their attunement. So a lot of times there's a lot of teachers out there that want to keep this whole process secretive and not tell them what's going to happen. And I'm like, absolutely not. We need to be telling everyone if we're going to touch them in any capacity, they need to know in advance. So if you're telling a student to close their eyes and be open to whatever experience, and they don't know how you're going to touch them, your guard is going to go up if you've had any kind of trauma or not, right? And so if we want our clients and our students to fully relax and feel safe, they need to know their options. They need to know, like, hey, if my touch makes you feel uncomfortable, please let me know and I will adjust. That is okay. And this is a container in which you can laugh, you can cry, you can shout, you can cough, you can take a break and go to the bathroom. this is your time to do your healing work, your spiritual alignment, and whatever that looks like is okay. Right. And so when we dive in, I want my clients to feel that they can feel that energetic acceptance of whatever they are currently going through. And if that means I have a client that says, I'm not comfortable for touch, I'm gonna be like, cool, that's not a problem at all. Right. That's how we should be conducting our sessions. Now, if we take the session out of this paradigm and go back to the conversation of Reiki and sex, when I am not a professional, when I'm not conducting a session, when I'm not a teacher, and I'm in a sacred relationship where I am with my partner as an equal. Like, I keep going back to that. There is no position of authority. When I'm with my partner and we are having our sexy time and Reiki is in the mix, that is can be a beautiful thing. But if we can go back even further than that to how is it to have self-pleasure practices with Reiki? How is it to open yourself up to your energy flow and allow Reiki to be there as you move this energy through in an erotic way? If you're alone, right? Like, these are things that I absolutely encourage, because every single human is a sexual being. And to deny that part of ourselves is to deny part of yourself, right? So we are sexual beings. We all are, right? In some capacity, we are sexual beings. And to deny that aspect, deny that area of our life isn't, in my opinion, it's not healthy. And the more we can say, this is part of my life, this is part of who I am, and I'm going to fully accept my own sexuality, whatever that looks like, and go into a world of exploration with myself, not with anyone else, with myself, of what kind of touch do I like? How do I like to breathe? How do I like to move my own energy as I become my own inner lover? Right? When we can approach our sexual development, our spiritual development, our personal development from this self-pleasure point of view of going, each one of us has an inner lover. How do we like to be touched? Can we give ourselves permission to come into a container to say yes to that? And when you can start honoring and self-loving yourself to your fullest capacity of exploration, of saying yes, of saying, like, let's not let this be a 5-minute rush thing, right? Like, can you take an hour to fully engage your senses, to fully engage your physical being and honor it, bless it, love on it in all of the ways? And one of those ways can be with Reiki, right? And so when we can have this time, this self-exploration of Reiki as a energy that can move our sexual energy, what is that like? And if we know our bodies, if we know our spirits that well, then when we come into these relationships with when we come into these different dynamics, these power dynamics with other people, we can be like, I know what my inner lover would do with this. They would say no. I'm clear in my own yeses and nos within my body of how I like to be touched, and this is not it. Doesn't feel good to me. I feel, and sometimes we need to have good long breaks between events to really understand where our confusion lies. Like, I feel like confusion is a red flag. If you are like second guessing things, if you're doubting things, we need to have some distance and go inwards with our own inner lover, with our own divine feminine, with our own inner queen or king, whatever that means to you, and say, this is what she wants. This is what he wants. What does that look like? And if we can learn, we can learn how to have exquisite, pleasurable experiences with me, myself, and I don't need anybody else. You know, when I went to my first tantric week-long workshop in Costa Rica last October, And it was a Tantra ayahuasca workshop, but the Tantra was really separate from the ayahuasca for the most part, other than the first ceremony. But I had these really beautiful energetic experiences. And I had this very clear realization that sexual energy and Reiki energy were the same thing, because I was moving energy, and energy is energy, and energy is exquisite. Energy is amazing. Right. And so when I had my own aha moment of I could have this sexual, spiritual energy flow within my body, utilizing the microcosmic orbit, utilizing somatic body movements to bring the energy upwards, using breath work to enhance that process, and have a full body orgasm without any kind of genital stimulation at all. I was like, every single fucking woman needs to know this. Like every woman needs to know this, because once you have this door open of, oh my gosh, I can understand my energy, I can understand myself, I know what I want, I know what I like, I know what is possible for my physical container to experience ecstasy and bliss without stimulation, without another person. It's all me, and whatever that looks like is okay. When we drop expectations of this is what sex should be, we drop expectations of this is what pleasure should be, and you just get to meet yourself, you get to just meet yourself in that capacity of, I am open to whatever this feels like. And however it wants to unfold, and I'm going to breathe, and I'm going to move, and I'm going to make sounds, and I'm going to experience the fullness of my body without anyone else, without anyone else's judgment, without anyone else's pressure, to know myself. That's when things really started to shift in my world, because I really did feel like, wow, if women knew this, if women knew this power, it could be absolutely amazing, because we aren't then hungry for sexual experiences. If we know how to fully take care of ourselves, to fully honor ourselves, to fully love ourselves. And I think that is what is so oftentimes missing from this mix, is that in some way we aren't loving ourselves enough. And so we are seeking it outside of ourselves. We're seeking someone else to fill our cup, instead of turning inward and going, I love myself so much, I'm going to take care of all of my needs. I'm going to love myself like no one has ever loved me before. I'm going to take this sweet moment and turn it into an hour, 2 hours of just honoring me, noticing my senses, noticing how I hear, notice how my breath is moving through my body, how taste tastes, how touch feels, like all of it, right? How, when you're in that energetic state, how you see colors beneath your eyes, like beneath your eyelids, and really fully experience all of you and your sexual heightened part of who you are, right? And that's not, I haven't been in places and spaces where that's encouraged. And so I'm like, let's create places and spaces where that's encouraged, because I think that's where it all starts. It all starts with self-love. And if we aren't loving ourselves fully and completely, how are we supposed to heal our body image issues? How are we supposed to heal those somatic places within ourselves that are holding the trauma? How can we not fully dance with the beauty of life, right? If we want to live ecstatic, blissful lives, we got to start with me, myself, and I, right? And from that part, from that like knowingness that I can love me more than anyone else can love me. I know all of my parts of me, and I can love all of it, the light, the dark, the shadows, the messy places. I'm going to love on all of it. And I'm going to like give myself the invitation to take the time to have a sensual, sexy experience with yourself. That can be one of the most amazing healing opportunities you can give yourself, right? And so when I hear hard, fast rules that Reiki and sex can't go together ever, I'm like, no, it can for it, and it should start with the self-pleasure practice, right? And there's absolutely a place where it's completely inappropriate, right? Power dynamics, inappropriate, right? And so when we can start with ourselves as a sensual, sexual being who is starting our self-love practice sessions with Reiki and allowing that energy to flow, it can lead to beautiful things, right? So start with yourself. Start with yourself. And then if you were in a loving partnership who is open to having intimate conversations, meaning you can freely express your desires, your fears, your boundaries without any inhibitions, then yeah, have the conversation. Have the conversation. And I think that's why currently I'm very excited about teaching tantra workshops and intimacy workshops and conversation and having cacao ceremonies for heart openers to have more of these conversations and just let's talk. Like this topic is so taboo to begin with and so kept in the dark and so hidden that now it's this dark thing. And it's like, it doesn't have to be. We have to know, we have to understand our bodies. We have to understand our voices. We have to use our voices. And it all truly for me comes back to that inner work. And if this was, I feel like I also had a very difficult sexual experience this last fall, and it allowed me to come into a place of going, I want more. I need more. I need to understand who I am and grow and define who I am for me before I let anyone else in. And as I was doing that practice, I'm super blessed. I also am now in a relationship with a tantra teacher in training, and he's been doing tantra for over 10 years, and it's fucking amazing, right? Because there is no power dynamic. I've always seen him this way as equals. Like I've attended some of his classes in the past. He's attended mine. Like we've been in each other's classrooms, but never, we've always been friends. We've always been colleagues. And then it developed into something more where voices were always heard. The sacred container was always created, especially in the beginning, to really communicate. Like it's probably more than a weekly basis that we're discussing specifically what our fears, what our desires, and what our boundaries are. And to really have sexual trauma, like I've had sexual trauma. And I think one of my biggest, hard places is having a really intense, expansive sexual experience and then saying, no, I don't want that, and being ignored. Right. So it became this thing where like, well, I just won't say no anymore because then it won't be rape. It won't be sexual assault if I just go along with everything. And it took me all of these years to get to the space of that's fucked up. That's not okay. I don't want to be hiding myself and making the other person comfortable to at my expense, right? Like I'm not available for that anymore. And to really recognize like this is a problem area for me of like I have a hard time saying no because my no's haven't been listened to, right? And I've been taken advantage of. And I have this deep fear that due to my actual physical body size that I can be swooped up and taken away and raped at any time. So I have a hard time going into public spaces without someone with me because that's a reality. That's, part like life isn't always safe. And there was a time when I was like 16, 17 years old where that happened. Some guy picked me up, threw me over his shoulder, and brought me to his bedroom to rape me. And luckily there was someone there to get me out of the situation. And that in that instant, that didn't happen, but it left a mark on me, right? Like it left a mark that like, my no's aren't going to be heard. Then I was date rape, my no's wasn't heard, right? And so when we have these, and women, we have been molested, we have been raped, we have been sexually assaulted, and many men have as well, right? Like, and so that's why it always comes back to, can we start with a self pleasure practice? Can we start with me, myself, and I? Can we create a safe and sacred container for me to touch me, to explore me first, right? And I love that we have beautiful, energetic healing tools now available to us, like the yoni egg, like the yoni wand, that can help us heal some of the somatic trauma in our yonis, right? Like, I'm a huge advocate for doing self pleasure practices and exploration and holding space for your own healing and learning how to move through those body energetic charges that we're holding on to, right? So what is that like for you? Like, where in your body do you need to love on fully and completely? And I think when we can be really truly honest and vulnerable with ourselves, and if you're in a marriage, if you're in a partnership, if you're in a committed relationship, can we have those vulnerable conversations with our partner? And what does it tell us when that answer is no? And sometimes that answer is, I need to work on my own self first. Maybe they are open to it, but you're not ready to go there. Maybe you need to work with a therapist or a sex therapist. And that is okay. Asking for help is okay. And I'm a huge advocate for that as well. Like, if you are struggling with your no, if you're struggling in developing your own inner masculine of what you're available for and what you're not, what that solar plexus area of, this is who I am, this is what I believe, these are my values. If those feel wishy-washy to you, let's start there. I think that, and it always had, like, I'm a huge advocate of solar plexus work, and I always have been. I have been huge into fiery shamanic work for a long time. It has only been recently that I really dipped in deeper into that sacral femininity, juicy, sensual space, because I had so much things I needed to burn away. I needed to really get clear on, this is what my values are. These are what my standards are. This is what my priorities are. This is who I am. This is who I'm not. This is what I'm available for. This is what I'm not available for. I had to work through all of that to then really sink into, great, that solar plexus energy has created my container for myself, so that that divine feminine within me could blossom, could unfold, that could swim in the energy. And in that, I think that's just a beautiful process. And so when we started developing Soul Rising, there was a lot of solar plexus information. There was a lot of solar plexus activating actions. There was so much in there. And we really want to discover the limiting beliefs and where they came from, right? And then it's like, okay, when we've done that work, when we're entering into the sacral chakra work, like, how are we opening up the space to create the foundations so that our femininity, our flow, our breath work can then move forward and move this energy around and circulate through the body? Because, as you probably know, like, none of us are perfect. Like, none of us have this perfect aligned chakras, right? Like, we all have stuff. We all have stuff. And I'm just a huge advocate for doing the interpersonal work, to doing the self advocacy work, to understanding our bodies, to understanding where things are stuck, and then finding our flow from there, right? And so I was really blessed to have my tantra mentor enter into my life when she did. And if you didn't catch the podcast on the priestess path with Kashi, like, go check out that episode. She is amazing. And it really was perfect timing, because I was in a relationship that wasn't healthy, and I didn't have my boundaries clear, and I was being sexually groomed for things that I didn't want. And I didn't know I didn't want it because I just didn't know. I was so confused. And that energy of confusion should have been a red flag. There was a lot of red flags that I tried to overlook. And I think that happens to women all the time. It happens all the time. And so by having the tantra ayahuasca ceremony and then jumping into her power of portal class, where you were really working through the light and the shadow, like doing the dance with Persephone of going into the underworld, like working with Inanna's energy and going into the underworld to really take off the layers in which we hold ourselves in around the fear of rejection, around fear of abandonment, around fear, like all of these fears that we cloak ourselves in. And in that fear of rejection, of that fear of they're not going to like me, of that fear of like I want their approval in some way, then we can get caught up in these unhealthy relationships. And by doing that work, it allowed me to go, oh my goodness, I know why I attracted this relationship. I know why I'm in this unhealthy relationship. I know what is happening and what I'm available for, what I'm not. And it was a fucking messy process. It was a really messy process. And I really needed to learn a lesson. And the lesson really was, I love myself more than whatever the fuck this is. And it took a long time to get there. And in retrospect, it wasn't a long time. I was only in this relationship for 7 months. But in that process of, I love myself more, that was the underlying lesson that I learned. I had to get to this point of, I love myself more than, and I love myself so incredibly deeply that I'm not available for the drama. I'm not available for the manipulation. I'm not available for whatever it was, what that was created. And when I could figure that out, I love myself. And that's huge. So yes, I was working through Portal of Power with Kashi. And then I joined her erotic alchemy group. And both of these have an underlying tone of erotic shamanism. And it all comes into this inner lover and learning how to love yourself totally and completely, so that when I was fully ready to say yes to my next relationship, I knew that I loved myself. I knew that I loved my body. I knew that I loved my voice. I love the sounds that I make. I love my light language. I love the spirituality work that I do. I love myself. I love myself. And no one can shake or break that, because that was a foundation I chose to lay and that I stand on every single day. And so when I came into that power, right, that power allowed my root chakra to be like, I'm fucking solid. My GPS system is totally in the earth, deep down into Mother Gaia, and it connects right up to my womb space, which opened up that sacral chakra energy, which opened up the solar plexus of going, this is what I'm available for, and this is what I'm not. And I'm available to move that compassionate heart through, and a huge amount of gratitude for how we each show up in our current relationship. And then and to use our voice, right? I don't think I've ever felt so free. Absolutely. I don't think I've ever felt so free than in the relationship that I'm in now, because I feel safe. I feel held. I feel like whatever I say isn't going to be judged. It's going to be honored, whatever that is. And it goes both ways. It goes both ways. And I'm like, this is amazing. I think this is the best, healthiest relationship I've ever been in. And it's amazing. It's amazing. So I think I wanted to share this story with you because I think there's a lot of fear out there of judgment around, I've made these bad decisions. I'm taking responsibility for my bad decisions of getting into this relationship. And yeah, there's some of it. And there's also fucking manipulation and gaslighting and bullshit. That's not your fault. Shit happens. And how do we love ourselves more through it? Because I spent a lot of time, and I still have moments where I am like, I should have known better. I should have stopped it earlier. I X, Y, and Z. And it sucks. And yet we learn and we grow and we can support ourselves coming back into an alignment of going, who am I? What do I want? How do I want to be treated? And can I do that for myself first? And so I'm sure if you guys have followed me for a while, you'll notice the shift that I had over the winter, right? I did a huge radical self-care, self-love series for reason and purpose. I needed to radically self-love myself to fully honor who I am as I was entering a new loving relationship. And so I'm sharing this from my heart. I'm sharing this from my soul of if you are engaging Reiki and sex together, know where that lies. If there's power dynamics, manipulation, gaslighting, any kind of bullshit, there's questioning, if you're confused, if you're feeling small, like all of those things, take a breath, step back, reach out for help, love yourself, know that you're going to be supported and held, even though it's going to feel yucky. And I felt yucky, right? And if you are in a loving, committed, communicative relationship with yourself or with a partner, it's okay. It's okay. And I would say my peak sexual experiences have been very energetically based. And so, especially as sensitive empaths that can feel energy to such an exquisite degree, why are we denying ourselves if it's in a healthy container? Right. So, this is not sessions. Like, I'm not speaking to sessions. I'm not speaking teacher student relationships in a loving partnership where communication is open and you're speaking your desires, your fears, and your boundaries, and they are honored always. These are places and spaces you might want to explore, but start with yourself. Always start with yourself, because knowing what you desire, knowing what you enjoy, knowing where your bliss factors are is always the first step in my mind. So with that, thank you so much for listening. If you have been a victim of sexual assault, please reach out. I will help you get connected to the right people and places so that you can feel supported. And the reason why we need to keep talking about this is because it is happening. And if we are going to create an expansive Reiki industry that will continue to grow and thrive, we need to do some weeding. And we need to create spaces where male practitioners have a safe place to practice if they're conducting themselves ethically, right? And so if we need to do some weeding, let's do some weeding. We need to get in and do the dirty work. Let's weed the fuck out of this, right? And know that that's not happening everywhere. And if it's not happening in your marriage or your partnership, and this is a beautiful, blessed thing that is easily to mix in with your sexuality and your sensuality, let it be blissful. Give yourself that. Yes, Reiki and sexual energy can go together if it's in that healthy container. Okay, there's my rant for today. Thank you all so much for listening, for taking your time to hear the message, letting it really settle in and feel the feelings. Please share your comments, your takeaways, your aha moments in our Facebook group, our Moon Rising Shamanic Institute, and our Facebook page, which is moon rising. Yeah, it's shamanic, mystics rising. Oh my God, that took me a hot second. Mystics rising, moon rising. So come find us over there. Share your thoughts, and may the whispers of wisdom continue to rise from within. Thanks, everyone.